Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 3 of Featherweight Flyers, the review series for Gran Turismo's relatively modest selection of ultra lightweight track day sports cars. And in this particular pick, we're discussing one of the more race-ready versions of these vehicles, the Lotus Motorsport Elise, which would eventually come to be known as the Exige, or essentially a more hardcore, hard-topped version of the Elise. Now this car is a pretty strong little sports car on Gran Turismo. It is also pretty expensive though for what it is, 100,000 credits. That's quite a lot of cash for a small lightweight sports car, but lightweight it certainly is. It weighs 636 kilos with the full weight loss package, has a turbocharged 1.8 litre engine, which can put out a pretty decent 355 horsepower, and also a not too bad 221 foot-pounds of torque, which for a small engine isn't too bad at all. The PP is quite usable, I would say. It's not too high, which it could very easily be in the case of a small sports car, but it's actually 574, which is about right for this car. Any higher than that and it really does start to lose its effectiveness. But under the 575 pp level, you can actually use this car's advantages to just that, your advantage. So what's it like overall? Is it worth buying? How does it compare to the other Featherweight Flyers? Well, in some ways it's a pretty good car. In other ways, perhaps not the strongest of the bunch. As we already said, it is pretty expensive. 100 grand is a lot of money for a small sports car, and that is the same price as a light car company Rocket or the Crossbow R. So that's serious cash for basically a Lotus Elise with a hardtop. So is it actually worth buying? Well, in the case of the Motorsport Elise, I would have to say it depends on what kind of driver and what kind of cars you like. If you're purely looking for a vehicle which will 9 times out of 10 win the race that you enter, then probably not, to be honest, because although this car isn't bad by any stretch, it's not necessarily as cutting edge now as it was when it was released. Because against something like a light car company Rocket or a Crossbow, it is going to struggle, mainly due to the handling. Now the weight placement in the Elise you would assume would be pretty good, but it can actually lead it to having slightly unpredictable steering. The front end can be a little bit light sometimes, the car can feel a little bit too loose around some corners, and despite being more of a racing version, those issues are still there with the motorsport version. Now, as I said, it's not a bad car by any means. It's still very quick, the top speed is in excess of 180, 190, the acceleration is very good, and it can put in good lap times. And overall, my verdict for the Motorsport Elise would be a very specific one. If you are looking purely to win, as I said earlier, then it's not the car for you. In fact, I would say that none of the Lotus Elises are, because they're not designed to win races, they're designed to be fun. If you're looking to win races, you need to look more towards vehicles like the Rocket, because they actually can do that. At the end of the day, even at the 574 pp level, which is this car's maximum tuned pp, it's not going to beat many cars at that level. Even on twisty circuits, if you put this thing up against, say, a Skyline, or an R35 GTR, or say an RX-7, or something like that, it will keep up with them in the corners, but it has no chance on the straights, because it just doesn't have that kind of overall performance. It's not slow, it's just not quick enough. It doesn't have that pull, it doesn't have the torque, it doesn't have the sheer power needed to keep up with those more powerful rivals. It may be able to keep up with them and in some cases outpace them through lower speed to, say, average speed corners, especially tighter corners, but there aren't many tracks where that can actually equate to a victory. Because if you think about it, the majority of tracks on Gran Turismo, the vast majority in fact, require a significant amount of straight line performance. And that's the part that this car has trouble delivering on. It's not bad by any means, as I said, but for the money specifically, there are better cars that you can get. Even the Elise Sport 190, for instance, is a cheaper car. The Vauxhall VX220 Turbo, which is, I would say, just as good if not better, is roughly half the price. So if you're looking for value, the Motorsport Elise is not the car for you. If, however, you are a Lotus fan, or a fan of vehicles which the majority of other people don't use, which is certainly the case with this car, then you will probably like it. I personally love this car. I don't use it that often, but I love the way it looks. I love the louvered rear window, the roof scoop, that kind of mini GT1 car look that it has, the extra wing, the slightly redesigned rear end. It looks good. It looks convincing as a motorsport vehicle. It's more of a nostalgic car as well, because it's been on Gran Turismo for quite a while, since at least Gran Turismo 2. I can't recall if it was on the first game. For value for money, it doesn't deliver. For nostalgia, and for being unique and standing out from the crowd, it does. But that's it overall for this particular review. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.